The world was silent, covered in a thick layer of grey dust. Mountains stood like broken bones against the pale sky, and nothing moved except the soft wind carrying the smell of burnt metal. Captain Elias Ward stepped out of his ship, Solace 9, his boots sinking into the cracked ground. He had seen many dead worlds before, but this one felt different. It felt haunted. His scanner beeped weakly, showing faint life signals coming from the ruins ahead. He moved carefully through fallen towers and twisted steel, his visor reflecting the ruins of a civilization that once touched the stars. Now, only ashes and silence remained. As he reached the center of a destroyed plaza, his scanner blinked red, one signal, close, weak, and dying. He followed it to a collapsed structure, a building half buried in sand. Inside, he saw movement, a small figure curled up between pieces of broken glass and glowing cables. Elias froze, his hand on his blaster. Then he saw her. It was a girl, or something that looked like one. Her skin was pale silver, her hair white as snow, tangled and full of dust. She had no clothes except for torn pieces of metallic fabric clinging to her shoulders. Her body shook as she tried to breathe, her eyes half open and glowing faintly blue. For a moment, Elias thought she was a hologram, too perfect, too fragile, but then she blinked. He rushed forward, kneeling beside her, pulling his coat around her shoulders. Hey, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you, he whispered. Her lips moved, but no words came, only a small broken sound. She looked at him like someone seeing light for the first time. Elias opened his wrist console, scanning her vitals. The results made no sense: unknown DNA, shifting cellular patterns, energy readings beyond human understanding. His AI spoke softly through the earpiece. Warning: subject does not match any known species in the galactic archive. He frowned. Yeah, I can see that. The girl tried to stand but collapsed. Elias caught her, feeling how light she was, like she weighed almost nothing. Her fingers gripped his arm with surprising strength. Her skin was cold, but the longer he held her, the warmer it became. It was like her body was copying his temperature, syncing with him. Don't worry, he said quietly, you're safe now. But something deep inside told him that safety was the last thing they had. Because when his scanner flickered again, it showed a signal, moving fast, closing in on their location. He looked up at the sky, and his stomach tightened. 3 bright lights appeared above the horizon, growing larger every second. Whoever they were not here for rescue. Elias lifted the girl into his arms and ran toward his ship. Dust rose around his boots as engines roared in the distance. He could feel her heartbeat against his chest, soft, fast, not human. When he looked down, her eyes met his again, glowing brighter, almost pleading. He didn't know her name, her language, or her story, but he knew one thing: she was terrified. As they reached the ramp of Solace 9, explosions ripped across the desert. The alien crafts had fired warning shots, dust and flame shooting into the sky. Elias sprinted inside, sealing the hatch behind them. AI, prepare for takeoff. Get us out of here, he shouted. The engine screamed as the ship lifted through clouds of dust and ash. He placed the girl on the medbed, her fingers still clutching his sleeve even in unconsciousness. When the ship stabilized, Elias removed his helmet and stared at her. There was something heartbreakingly human about her face. Tears had left trails through the dust on her cheeks. He gently brushed them away, whispering, "Who did this to you?" The ship's AI interrupted again. "Captain, multiple unknown crafts in pursuit. Their weapons are charged." Elias clenched his jaw. "Figures," he muttered. He sat beside her, trying to understand what he had just brought aboard. Suddenly, her body twitched, and her breathing changed. Elias leaned forward. "Hey, easy, you're safe." Her hand shot up, grabbing his wrist. Her eyes snapped open, bright blue like electric fire. She spoke one single word, her voice trembling and strange. "Run!" Before he could react, the ship's alarms exploded into red light. Energy surge detected, origin unknown. Elias turned to her, realizing the readings were coming from her. Her skin shimmered with light, veins glowing like molten silver. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. She went still again, her glow fading, her hand falling weakly. He stared at her, his heart pounding. Who was she? What had he found? And why did her presence make the universe itself seem to shiver? Outside the window, streaks of fire crossed the sky, the alien ships closing in. Elias gritted his teeth, setting a new course through the asteroid belt. He didn't know where he was taking her. He only knew one thing: he couldn't let them have her. The girl's soft voice broke the silence, whispering from the medbed. "Please, don't let them take me." Elias looked back at her, eyes full of confusion and resolve. "Not a chance," he said quietly. And as Solace 9 disappeared into the blackness of space, the war for her secret had already begun. The ship floated through the dark silence of space, its hull trembling from the escape burns. Elias sat in the pilot's seat, breathing hard, his eyes fixed on the radar. 3 red dots still followed behind, alien crafts hunting like wolves. He had seen pirates, raiders, even military drones, but nothing moved like these. He turned his head toward the medbay window. Through the glass he saw her, the alien girl, still lying under the white medical light. Her chest rose and fell softly, and the silver glow under her skin had faded. For a moment, she looked like a lost child, sleeping after a nightmare. Elias rubbed his face and whispered, "What are you, kid?" The AI answered, "Unknown life form, highly unstable bioenergy patterns detected." He sighed, "Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of." The engines hummed lower as Solace 9 entered a debris field. Old satellites and asteroid dust hid them from scanners, at least for a while. Elias walked into the medbay, the door sliding open with a soft hiss. The girl's eyes opened instantly, wide, glowing faintly blue again. She stared at him, confused but alert. Her hands clutched the blanket like she was ready to run. "Hey, easy," he said softly, raising his hands. "You're safe here, I promise." She tilted her head, eyes flicking from his face to his mouth as he spoke. Then she pointed weakly to herself, "Lithra." Her voice cracked as she said it, as if the word hurt. Elias froze. "Lyra? That's your name?" She nodded once, then whispered again, "Lyra of me." He smiled faintly. "Okay, Lyra. I'm Elias." She repeated his name slowly, "Elias." Her accent was strange, almost melodic, like a language made of wind and light. He offered her water from a small container. She looked at it curiously, then copied his action, drinking in small sips. When she swallowed, her body shimmered faintly again, like her cells were learning from what entered them. Elias noticed and frowned. "You adapt fast, don't you?" She didn't understand, but she smiled softly at the tone of his voice. Minutes passed. She started to look around the medbay, touching things gently, learning like a child. Then she froze in front of the window, staring at the stars. Her expression changed, from wonder to pure terror. She pressed her hand against the glass and whispered a word he didn't know. The ship's AI translated automatically. Translation: "They are coming." Before Elias could respond, alarms flared again. Radar detected the same enemy ships. He cursed under his breath, rushing to the cockpit. "AI, how did they find us? We're in a debris field." "Unknown," the AI replied. "They seem to be tracking a biological signal, possibly the girl's." Elias' eyes widened. "They're locked onto her." He turned toward the medbay. Lyra was standing in the doorway now, shaking. She could hear the alarms, feel the tension in the air. Her body trembled as she covered her ears, whispering something over and over. "Not again, not again." Elias rushed to her, gripping her shoulders. "Hey, listen to me. Whatever's out there, they're not taking you. Not while I'm breathing." Her eyes filled with tears, glowing brighter as emotions surged through her. Then the walls around them began to hum. Lights flickered as strange symbols appeared across the control panels, drawn in lines of blue light. Elias stepped back in shock. "Lyra, what are you doing?" She didn't answer, her voice breaking into a strange, rhythmic sound, half singing, half crying. The AI warned, an authorized neural connection detected. Ship systems are responding to an external biointerface. He turned to the console. It was alive, responding to her. Her hands hovered over the air, invisible threads of light moving from her palms into the ship's circuits. Suddenly the engines powered up without command. The ship lurched forward, dodging a missile that would have hit them seconds later. Elias fell to one knee, gripping the chair. Okay, not complaining, but maybe warn me next time. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes, as if realizing what she had done. Her hands dropped, and the light vanished instantly. She whispered, "Sorry," her voice full of guilt. He stared at her for a long moment, breathing heavily. "That wasn't an accident, was it?" She didn't answer, only turned away, tears falling silently. He saw something etched into her skin, faint glowing patterns on her back. Symbols that matched the markings she had drawn earlier on the walls. Before he could ask, the AI spoke again. "Captain, enemy vessels disengaging. They appear to be confused." The ship's signature changed during her connection. Elias blinked. Changed? Into what? The AI paused. Into something they are programmed not to attack. He turned toward Lyra, realization hitting him. "You just saved us," he said softly. She shook her head, whispering, "No save, they're afraid." Her voice trembled. "They think I am still theirs." Elias stepped closer, his voice calm. "You're not theirs anymore, understand? You're free." She looked at him, her blue eyes wet but burning with faint light. Then she whispered one word that made his heart twist. "Free means alone." He froze, not knowing what to say. Outside, the stars burned quietly, reflecting off her silver skin. Elias placed his jacket around her shoulders again and said quietly, "Not anymore." The ship drifted in silence, both of them staring out the viewport. One human, one broken experiment. Bound by fear, trust, and something neither could yet understand. And somewhere out there, the ones who made her were already preparing to take her back. The stars outside looked calm, but inside the Solace 9, nothing felt safe. Elias sat in the dim control room, the hum of the engines the only sound breaking the silence. Lyra slept again in the medbay, curled beneath his coat, her silver-white hair glowing faintly in the low light. For the first time since he found her, she wasn't trembling, but her peace looked fragile, like glass ready to shatter. Elias stared at the data scrolling across his wrist screen. Every scan he ran on her returned the same impossible result. Her DNA kept changing. Not mutating like a virus, but rewriting itself with purpose, like someone, or something, was updating her. He whispered under his breath, "What are you made of?" The eye's voice broke the quiet. "Captain, her neural waves are increasing. She is entering a deep memory phase." He frowned. "A memory phase? Like dreaming?" "Negative," the AI answered. "It resembles synchronization." He stood and walked toward the medbay, the doors sliding open silently. Lyra lay perfectly still, but blue light danced under her skin in slow patterns, like stars forming constellations. Her breathing was steady, yet her eyes moved rapidly beneath closed lids. Then her voice came, soft, broken, and full of pain. "No more, no test, please." Elias froze, listening. The lights in the medbay flickered as if reacting to her words. He felt a strange pulse through the floor, not mechanical, but alive. And suddenly, images flashed across the monitor beside her bed, data that wasn't from his ship. Blurry shapes, alien symbols, faces made of light, cities floating in the clouds. And then, screaming. Elias leaned closer. "Lyra, you're showing me something, aren't you?" Her lips moved again, whispering between breaths. "They said I was perfect, then they broke me." He swallowed hard, his throat dry. This wasn't just a dream, she was remembering, and somehow his ship was picking up the signal. He could see her memories through the medbay screen. Alien scientists around her, cold white rooms, sharp instruments. Voices saying words like prototype, obedience, failure. And then he saw her, a younger version of Lyra, chained to a glowing frame, screaming as light poured through her body. Elias looked away, anger burning behind his eyes. He couldn't watch more. He reached for her hand, gently holding it. "You're safe now, Lyra, that's over." Her breathing slowed, the lights under her skin dimmed, and the images vanished. Moments later, she opened her eyes, confused. Her gaze darted around until it found him. "You saw," she said weakly. He nodded, "Yeah." I saw enough. She turned her face away, ashamed. They made me hurt people. I didn't want to. Her voice cracked like broken glass. They said I was not alive, only code in flesh. Elias sat beside her, shaking his head. They were wrong. She blinked, confused. Wrong? He smiled faintly. If you were just code, you wouldn't cry. For a moment, neither spoke. Then her fingers moved, tracing something invisible on his wrist. Strange glowing symbols appeared there, soft blue markings that formed a circular pattern. Elias jerked his hand back, startled. What did you just do? She whispered, key, memory, for you. The ship's AI beeped, detecting new data. Captain, encrypted file detected within your neural implant. The signature matches hers. Elias frowned. She just gave me access to her memories, didn't she? Affirmative, the AI replied, partial unlock only. He looked at Lyra again. Why show me this? Her eyes met his, sad but full of strange trust. Because I can't remember who I was, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Maybe you help me find it. Elias nodded slowly. Then we'll find it together. But before the moment could settle, the ship's lights flickered red again. Warning, the AI called out, incoming transmission from unidentified vessel. A cold metallic voice filled the speakers. Human vessel, you are harboring stolen property. Return the prototype designated Lyra 7 or be destroyed. Lyra's face went pale. Her hands shook, and she whispered, they found us. Elias clenched his jaw, his pulse quickening. He ran to the cockpit, activating shields. AI, jam the signal. Unable to comply, the AI responded, their frequency is coded to her, she is the signal. He turned toward her. Lyra's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, they built me to find myself, no place to hide. Elias felt a chill down his spine. Every time she breathed, every pulse of her heart, it sent out a traceable pattern, a living beacon. The alien voice spoke again, louder. You cannot protect her, human. Return what is ours. Elias slammed the control panel. She's not yours. The silence after his shout was heavy. Then, quietly, the alien voice said, then you will die for her. Lyra stepped forward, trembling but determined. She looked at Elias with glowing eyes and said softly, Elias, I can stop them, but you must trust me. He hesitated. Stop them? How? She placed her hand on the ship's floor, light spreading from her touch, forming strange moving circuits. Her voice deepened, calm and ancient. Because before I was Lyra, I was the code that ended their world. The ship trembled as energy surged through it again. Elias stared in shock. And for the first time, he realized, Lyra wasn't just running from her past. She was her past. And now that past had finally come back to finish what it started. Space was never truly silent. Even when the stars seemed still, there was always a hum, of energy, of motion, of things waiting in the dark. And now that hum had turned into a deep, threatening vibration through the hull of Solace 9. Elias stood in the cockpit, staring at the front screen where 3 massive alien vessels had appeared. They were black like obsidian, shaped like blades, their engines glowing blood red. Each one was larger than his ship by miles, and they didn't come to talk. The ship's AI broke the silence. Captain, the enemy vessels have locked targeting systems on us. Elias exhaled slowly, trying not to let the fear reach his voice. Patch them through, let's hear what they want. A moment later, the screen flickered, and a figure appeared, tall, humanoid, wearing armor that shimmered like oil and steel. Its face was hidden by a mask made of moving light, its voice cold and sharp. Human vessel Solace 9. You have something that belongs to us. Return the prototype designated Lyra 7 immediately. Elias glanced over his shoulder. Lyra stood behind him, clutching his coat tightly around her shoulders, her glowing eyes filled with fear. She whispered, They called me that, before. Elias took a step forward, standing between her and the screen. She's not your property, he said, voice low and firm. The alien tilted its head. You misunderstand. She is not alive. She is a construct, a weapon that escaped containment. Return her, or Earth will burn with her frequency. The threat echoed in the air like a curse. Lyra gasped, shaking her head. They can't reach Earth, can they? Elias didn't answer right away, his eyes narrowing. They are bluffing, he muttered, though deep down, he wasn't sure. The alien continued, you have 1 cycle to comply. The transmission cut off, leaving a heavy silence behind. The ship's AI reported, they are powering their plasma batteries, Captain. Elias cursed under his breath. He turned toward Lyra, they want you because they fear you. What did you do to them? Lyra hesitated, her voice trembling, I don't remember everything, but I know they used me to end wars. She pressed her hands to her temples as flashes filled her mind, cities collapsing, skies burning, thousands of voices screaming her name not as a hero, but as a weapon. I was made to destroy Elias, she whispered, her eyes filled with tears. They want me back so I can finish what they started. Elias walked closer, kneeling beside her. You're not that person anymore, he said. You have a choice now. She shook her head. Choice means nothing if others die because of me. Her voice cracked. They will find Earth. They will hurt your people. The ship trembled again as a proximity alarm blared. Elias stood up fast. They're moving closer. Outside, the alien ships formed a tight formation, glowing rings of energy spinning around their hulls like halos of fire. AI, plot a jump course, anywhere but here, Elias ordered. Unable to comply, the AI replied, they have locked our warp engines with a gravimetric field. Lyra's breathing grew uneven. She could feel the energy field. They were using her own code to trap them. Her skin began to glow again, brighter than before. Elias turned sharply, Lyra! Hey, calm down. She shook her head, tears streaking down her cheeks. They are pulling me back, she said weakly. I can feel their command in my mind. Elias reached out, holding her shoulders. Fight it, Lyra. They don't own you. Her hands trembled as faint light lines ran across her skin, forming glowing veins that pulsed in rhythm with the enemy ships. They're calling to me, she whispered, like I'm still theirs. Elias clenched his jaw and looked at the screen filled with red warnings. He knew what he had to do, even if it was suicide. He pressed the emergency override, pulling power from the life support systems into the thrusters. AI, prepare full burn toward the debris cluster. If they want us, they'll have to chase us into hell. The AI hesitated. That maneuver is lethal, Captain. He gave a grim smile. Yeah, well, so is being polite. The Solace 9 roared to life, engines screaming as they shot toward a massive asteroid field. The alien ships followed instantly, firing plasma bursts that lit up the darkness like blue suns. One hit grazed their hull, alarms screamed, sparks flew, and Lyra stumbled to her knees. Elias pulled her up, shouting over the noise. You said they used you to end wars. Can you use that power to protect us now? Lyra looked up at him, tears mixing with determination. Her glow intensified, light wrapping around her body like armor. I can try, she said softly, but once I open it, I can't stop it. Elias met her gaze. Then we make it count. She placed her hands on the control panel, and every light in the ship turned blue. The AI's voice stuttered. System override detected. Captain, she's merging with the ship. Energy crackled around her, and her voice echoed from every speaker. I am Lyra 7, memory core activated. The ship shuddered as a massive pulse of light burst from its hull. The nearest alien vessel instantly lost power, its red glow flickering out as it drifted dead in space. Elias shielded his eyes from the brilliance, shouting, Lyra! You're burning the systems out. Her voice came faint and distant. I am not burning them, Elias. I am rewriting them. The light spread through the darkness, touching each alien ship like a wave. Their energy signatures blinked and vanished. For a moment, just one beautiful moment, the galaxy outside was silent again. Then Lyra collapsed, her glow fading fast. Elias caught her before she hit the floor. Her voice was weak. They will come again, stronger. He looked at her, pain in his eyes. Then we'll be ready, he said softly, holding her close as the stars flickered quietly around them. And far beyond their sight, deep in alien space, an entire fleet awakened to a single command. Find her. Silence returned to space. But it wasn't peace, it was the heavy kind of silence that comes after a storm. The Solace 9 floated among shattered debris, engines offline, its hull scarred and smoking. Inside, emergency lights blinked red, painting the corridors in a heartbeat rhythm of danger and exhaustion. Elias sat beside Lyra in the medbay, his hand resting near hers. She lay still, her body pale and cold, the faint glow under her skin fading with every minute. He had seen soldiers dying before, but never like this. It was like watching a star slowly go dark. The ship's AI spoke quietly. Captain, her bioenergy levels are below survival threshold. Elias clenched his jaw. There must be something we can do. There is nothing in human medicine capable of restoring her energy signature, the AI replied. She is not built like us. He looked at her face. She looked fragile now, more human than alien, more lost than dangerous. He whispered, "You didn't ask for this, any of it." For a long time, he just sat there, watching the slow flicker of light fade from her veins. Then, suddenly, a faint hum began to echo through the ship. Soft at first, then growing deeper, resonating through the walls like a heartbeat returning. Elias stood, startled. What is that?" Before it could answer, Lyra's body arched violently, her eyes snapping open, glowing pure white. Every light in the medbay exploded into brightness. Elias stumbled back, shielding his eyes. Her voice filled the air, not from her mouth, but from everywhere. Containment breach, system override, core activation. The ship trembled, its panels lighting up with alien code. The AI stuttered, warning, an unknown interface is overriding all control systems. Unknown. Elias shouted, "You mean her?" Lyra's voice softened, echoing inside his mind. "I remember now." He froze. "Lyra? You're inside my head." Her image appeared in front of him, not physical, but made of light. She stood in a glowing field of symbols, her eyes calm but burning with energy. "I remember what they made me for," she said quietly. "They created me to rewrite life itself, to build or destroy entire worlds." Elias stared at her, shocked. "You mean you can?" "Yes," she whispered, "I can end civilizations, or heal them." The ship shuddered again as energy poured through the hull. Outside, the debris began to move, floating toward them as if pulled by invisible strings. Lyra raised her hand, and the wreckage assembled itself into a protective shell around the Solace 9. Elias could hardly breathe. "You're controlling matter." She smiled faintly. "I'm rewriting it. I don't destroy things anymore. I change them." But her glow flickered, unstable. Her voice grew weaker. "I can't hold this long, it's taking everything from me." Elias reached for her hand, even though she was only light. "Then stop, please, stop before it kills you." She looked at him with soft eyes. "I don't fear death, Elias. I fear being nothing again." He shook his head, desperate. "You're not nothing, you're someone. You're alive." His words made her hesitate. For the first time, the light around her dimmed gently instead of flaring violently. She whispered, "Alive," as if she was testing the meaning. Then the image faded, her energy collapsing back into her physical body on the medbed. The alarm stopped, the light stabilized, and for a long moment, everything went still. Elias leaned over her, listening. There, a heartbeat, weak but steady. He exhaled, trembling with relief. "Welcome back," he said softly. Her eyes opened slowly, blue again, calm, human-like. "Elias," she whispered, "did I hurt you?" He smiled faintly. "You saved us again, that's what you did." She blinked, confused. "I don't understand why you stay. Everyone else ran." He looked into her glowing eyes and said quietly, "Because you deserve someone who doesn't run." Outside, the alien fleet began to regroup in the distance. Their scanners had picked up the pulse of her awakening. Thousands of ships forming into a hunting formation. The ship's AI interrupted softly. "Captain, enemy reinforcements detected." Estimated arrival in 5 minutes. Lyra sat up slowly. Her movements graceful, no longer weak. The glowing marks across her arms had changed. They now pulsed in smooth rhythm, not chaos. Elias noticed and asked, "What's happening to you?" She looked at her hands, a mixture of awe and fear in her face. "I think I'm stabilizing." Then her expression hardened. "But if they come again, I can't keep running. I'll have to fight." Elias turned to the viewport, staring at the approaching lights. "They'll never stop, will they?" "No," she said softly, "not until I'm gone or they are." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's make sure it's not you." The ship's engines hummed as power returned. Elias took the pilot's seat, his fingers flying over the controls. Lyra stood behind him, light gathering around her once more, controlled this time, balanced, almost beautiful. She said quietly, "If I fall, Elias, promise me you'll tell them. I wanted to be more than what they made me." He looked at her and said, "Then don't fall. Prove it." As the enemy ships appeared on the radar, filling the darkness with red light. The Solace 9 glowed blue from within, the light of a reborn being pulsing through its veins. Elias whispered under his breath, "Let's show them what humanity and hope look like together." And as the first enemy salvo hit, Lyra stepped forward, her entire body igniting in radiant light. Her voice echoed across the void, clear and fearless. "I am Lyra 7, last of their sins, and the first to forgive." The storm began again, but this time, she wasn't the weapon, they were. The stars were no longer calm. They burned red with fire as the alien fleet arrived, thousands of ships surrounding the Solace 9 like a glowing cage in the endless dark. Every sensor screamed, every warning light flashed, and the ship's AI spoke in a trembling tone. "Captain, enemy fleet size exceeds survivable parameters." Elias didn't flinch. He sat in the pilot's chair, his fingers steady on the controls. Across from him stood Lyra, no longer weak or trembling. Her body glowed with calm white light, her hair drifting like silver smoke, her eyes burning bright like newborn stars. She looked at the incoming armada and whispered, "They never learn." Elias glanced at her, a faint smirk in his tired eyes. "Guess they're about to get a human lesson." Outside, the alien commander's voice thundered through open comms. "Lyra 7, return to your masters. Your defiance ends now." Lyra closed her eyes, and for a heartbeat the light around her dimmed. Then she opened them again, and the whole ship seemed to breathe with her. The Solace 9's metal hull began to shimmer with the same white glow as her skin. Circuits across the walls pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Elias felt it through the deck. The ship was alive, merging with her. "What are you doing?" he asked quietly. She smiled softly, "Becoming what I was meant to be." The alien fleet fired first. Hundreds of plasma blasts cut across space like falling suns. Elias shouted, "Brace!" But instead of impact, every beam stopped midair. Frozen, caught in a sphere of blue light that surrounded the ship like a crystal shell. The energy bent, twisted, and then shattered into harmless sparks. Lyra stood still, arms raised, her voice calm but echoing like thunder. "They built me to destroy," she said softly, "but they never understood creation." She moved her hands slowly, and the stars themselves seemed to bend. The wreckage of old ships, the floating ice of broken moons, all began to spin, drawn toward her like metal to a magnet. They fused together in front of the Solace 9, forming massive barriers and spears of living energy. Elias could only stare. "You're controlling the whole field." Her voice was faint but sure. "I'm rewriting the laws they chained me with." The enemy fleet adjusted, switching to gravity bombs and antimatter rounds. The sky lit up with explosions, each one brighter than a sunrise. Inside, the ship rattled violently, alarms screaming. Elias gritted his teeth. "Lyra!" Shields dropping to 20%. She didn't answer. Her body was shaking now, the light around her flickering like a dying star. He rushed toward her, grabbing her shoulders. "Stop! You'll burn yourself out." Her eyes glowed white, her voice breaking. "If I stop, you die." He shook his head, shouting, "Then we die together, but you don't destroy yourself." For a second, her expression changed, conflict, pain, something human. Her light dimmed slightly, and she whispered, "No one ever said that to me before." Before he could reply, the ship lurched violently, an explosion nearby tore through the barrier. Debris slammed against the hull, sparks bursting everywhere. Elias jumped back into the pilot's seat. "AI, reroute all power to forward thrusters. We're taking the fight to them." The AI hesitated. "Captain, that's suicide." "Then it's a good day to be human," he said through clenched teeth. The Solace 9 shot forward, weaving between enemy fire like a bullet through chaos. Lyra stood behind him, eyes closed, hands outstretched. Every movement of the ship matched the rhythm of her pulse. They were flying as one, human instinct and alien power bound together. Elias dodged a plasma volley by a hair's width. "Lyra, target that flagship," he yelled. Her voice echoed through the cabin. Locked. Outside, the debris field transformed into glowing lances of energy that pierced through the void. They struck the enemy flagship in a single blinding burst. The explosion was silent but enormous, shockwaves of blue light spreading across space. Half the enemy formation vanished in seconds. The rest faltered, confused, retreating and reforming. But the victory came at a price. Lyra collapsed to her knees, light bleeding from her skin like dust in water. Elias ran to her side, catching her as her body trembled. She whispered weakly, "My core, fracturing." He held her close, panic in his voice. "Stay with me, Lyra. You hear me? Stay." She smiled faintly, her hand brushing his cheek. "Do you know why I chose you?" He shook his head, eyes wet. "Because you didn't look at me like a weapon," she said softly. "You looked at me like I was alive." Her glow dimmed again. Outside, the remaining alien fleet surrounded them, preparing for the final strike. Elias looked up, rage burning behind his eyes. "You want her? Come and get her," he shouted into the comms. He lifted her onto the control panel, connecting her hands to the energy conduits. "AI, link her power to the ship's core, directly." "Captain, that will kill both of you." He smiled grimly, "We're past caring." Lyra's voice echoed faintly. "Elias, you don't have to." He interrupted, "You saved us all once. Let me save you this time." Her eyes widened, glowing again, stronger, brighter, burning with something new, emotion. She whispered, "Then we do it together." Their hands met on the console, and a surge of light erupted through the ship. The Solace 9 turned into a star, blinding, unstoppable, alive. The enemy fleet opened fire. But the light swallowed everything, ships, weapons, and the darkness itself. For a moment, there was no sound, no fear, only brilliance. And in that brilliance, a human voice whispered softly, "We fight because we care." When the light faded, the Solace 9 drifted alone in the empty silence. The fleet was gone, vaporized by the storm. Elias slumped over the controls, smoke rising around him. Beside him, Lyra's body glowed faintly, alive, but changed. And far away, in the depths of alien space, every sensor across the galaxy detected a single impossible message. The humans are not what we thought. Space was quiet again. After the blinding storm of light, only silence remained, gentle, endless, and full of ghosts. The Solace 9 drifted slowly through the debris field, its hull cracked and glowing faintly with heat. Every system was offline except for one, life support, weak but alive. Elias opened his eyes, his head pounding. Smoke filled the cabin, panels were broken, and sparks hissed across the floor. He coughed, tried to move, and groaned in pain. "AI, status," he whispered hoarsely. The voice came back faint, damaged. "Captain, systems critical, power levels, 6%. Elias forced himself up, using the chair for support. "Lyra," he said softly, turning his head toward the medbay. She lay on the floor beside the console, motionless, surrounded by a faint halo of white light. Her silver hair floated slightly in zero gravity, her skin cold and pale. For a moment, she looked like she was carved from moonlight. Elias dragged himself to her side, kneeling beside her. "Come on, Lyra, Not now, not like this, he muttered, voice shaking. Her chest didn't move. No pulse, no breath, only the faint shimmering dust around her fingers. He pressed his forehead against her hand, eyes closed. You saved everyone, but you forgot one thing, you were supposed to live too. The ship's AI spoke weakly. Captain, long-range scans confirm, the enemy fleet has been destroyed. Elias laughed bitterly through his tears. Yeah, and we might have gone with them. He looked down at Lyra again, whispering, you said you didn't want to be nothing. You're not. You're everything. Then, softly, something changed. The dust floating around her began to glow. A soft pulse of blue spread across her skin. Elias blinked, not believing it at first. Then another pulse, stronger. Her eyes fluttered open, faint light flickering behind them like distant stars. Elias, her voice came weak but real. He froze, a disbelieving smile forming through his tears. You scared the hell out of me, he whispered. She looked at him, confused. Did we win? He nodded. We did. Because of you. She tried to sit up, wincing in pain. Her body trembled, the glow fading in and out like a flickering candle. They'll come again, she whispered. More will follow. Elias helped her lean against the wall. Then they'll find a warning waiting, he said softly. The last time they came, they found a frightened girl and one tired pilot. Next time, they'll find humanity ready. She looked at him, her lips trembling into a faint smile. Humanity, she repeated slowly, you fight for others, even when you have nothing. He chuckled, yeah. That's kind of our thing. A moment of silence passed between them. Then she whispered, I remember now, not everything, but enough. Her fingers traced the glowing marks on her arms. They built me to rewrite worlds, but when they erased my memories, they left one code untouched. Elias frowned. What code? She looked up at him, her eyes bright and soft. Hope, she said simply. It was the one thing they couldn't delete. Elias smiled faintly. Guess they underestimated what that means. Her hand reached out slowly, touching his chest where his heart beat under the torn fabric of his suit. I think I found mine again, she said. He covered her hand with his own, their fingers intertwining. You didn't find it, he whispered, you created it. Outside, the shattered remains of the enemy ships drifted like silent meteors. The universe seemed still, as if holding its breath. Lyra stared out through the cracked viewport. For so long, I thought I was a mistake, she said softly. Now I understand, maybe I was never meant to destroy. Maybe I was meant to learn. Elias nodded, and teach the rest of us while you're at it. The AI interrupted gently. Captain, distress signal from nearby colonies. They detected the battle flash. Requesting identification. Elias smiled, glancing at Lyra. You ready to meet the rest of humanity? She looked uncertain. What if they fear me? He leaned closer, his tone steady and warm. Then they'll see what I see, a girl who chose mercy when she could have chosen power. She smiled, small, real, human. Then let's go home, she said. He stood and limped to the pilot seat, flicking on the backup controls. The engines whined weakly, struggling to life. Lyra placed her glowing hand on the console, and the power surged stronger, steadier. The AI reported softly, system stabilizing. Course set for Earth. As the Solace 9 turned toward the blue planet far in the distance, Lyra leaned her head against the glass, eyes full of wonder. It's beautiful, she whispered, your world, your people. Elias smiled, they're not perfect. But they fight for each other. You'd fit right in. The light from Earth reflected in her eyes, blue and alive. She whispered, maybe that's what I always wanted, to belong somewhere. Elias replied quietly, you already do. As the ship entered its final trajectory, the comms came alive, voices from human command, shock and relief filling the air. But inside Solace 9, everything felt calm. Lyra looked at Elias one last time and smiled with warmth that wasn't alien anymore. Thank you, she said, for seeing me. He smiled back, for reminding me why we fight. Outside, the stars faded into dawn as the Solace 9 vanished into the light of Earth's atmosphere. The girl who was born a weapon was now something far greater. A symbol of what both species had forgotten. That even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, hope remembers its name. And somewhere deep in her code, one final line glowed softly. Lyra 7, status, alive.